The 2010 Villages podcast, episode 12. Joining me as always, I've got Jack Salt and Ash Walker. Our second attempt at this after some technical problems last night.
There were that many problems. We've moved into a different day. That's how bad it was.
It was very different last night,
It was
wasn't it?
catastrophic.
The first half of this
And I
podcast
just-
might sound very well rehearsed,
I've
considering
just
we've
found
basically
out
already
we're
done it
starting
once.
from scratch as well, which I wasn't prepared for. So that if I'm in a bad mood, that's why.
So you're not still in a bad mood over the toilets at Hornsea?
Although they were disgusting. But now I have to explain it again.
Explain it.
I'm not going to. You can go in the archives and people could ask me on Twitter.
Okay.
He's desperate for interaction, isn't he, on Twitter?
I nearly
Right.
put my Twitter tagline on the screen, but Twitter handle on the screen, but I didn't know how.
So we're all extremely bored in lockdown, especially, seeing as the football gods decided to give us a fucking international break in the middle of the lockdown. I mean, that
Which
really is.
I said last night when I went on a rant again last night. Should never have happened, but I'm not. You're going to miss out on the rant now.
But it is. It's a fucking disgrace. So yeah, we're really stuck for things to do. So we're going to do something a little bit different with today's episode that Jack is going to explain now.
Yeah, so basically we decided, because obviously we haven't got like pies, pads and pisses to bring you or anything. I mean, we could bring Ash's review of Haunted Toilets, but we're not going to bother.
Wood's got very high.
So what we're going to do is we're going to have a memory lane special. So each of us have gone away. We've actually done some research this week and chosen our 5 best, in Ash's case, home, in Sam's case, away, and in my case, cup games over the period that we've been going to watch Ferriby, whether that's been North Ferriby United or North Ferriby FC. Both teams come up in these lists. So what we'll do is we'll go with Ash first for your 5th best home game.
I'm sure you can't guess what I'm going to say right now.
I actually can't remember.
I can.
Okay, 21st of February 2017. It was a Tuesday night sellout at home to Lincoln City. It was a 1-0 defeat. It was top versus bottom in the National League. The EVM was absolutely packed that night. So that's why I've picked it. It was like an occasion. It felt like a cup tie. There was people dangling from trees, all sorts. What was significant about the game as well, Lincoln had a lot of national press because on the Saturday had beat Burnley, Premier League Burnley. I don't think we're saying that for much longer personally, but
No, I don't either.
Premier League Burnley on Saturday. And they had just been drawn against Arsenal away the night before. And Arsenal scouts tried to enter the ground and were told to piss off.
Good honours.
Very nice.
Well done, Stephen, the main force to that one. Luke Waterfall scored the goal after 21 minutes. Now, I've written here good game. I can't remember the game. Not because of the ad.
Or from 4 years ago.
Was Jack Muldoon playing for Lincoln?
He was there at the time. Let me see if he played.
Because he played in that. He definitely played in that FA Cup run.
He did. I'll see if he played. The good thing about National League is days because I can just go on to BBC Sport and it'll tell me. But I'll carry on talking.
Yeah, carry on.
I've said he a good game, but I can't remember much of it. Not because of the Admiral pre-drinks. It's been a long time ago. I think we battled quite well.
We've only lost 1-0 then.
Muldoon was on the bench. He came on for Whitehouse after 70 minutes.
Right.
Made his return to the EVM.
Yeah, the team that day, Rory Watson, Sam Topless, who we spoke about last night, and Salt and I are now very worried about Briggs' promotion charge.
Yes.
Matt Gray, Ben Middleton, Jake Skelton, and Taryn Hare. Robbie Tinkler, Matty Dixon, Curtis Bateson, Sam Cosgrove, and Reece Thompson. The 3 subs that came on, Matty Templeton, of rated fame nowadays, and we wheeled him out in the conference. Love to see it. Connor Oliver and Ryan Kendall were also the subs who came on that day. So yeah, absolute occasion. I've spoken to Lincoln fans since, and they enjoyed their trip down to Ferriby. I don't think it's a trip they'll be making again.
No, but I think, like you say, Ash, a lot of teams, big teams, when they came to us, all said that. York were the same when we were in the National League. When that little ground does get full, it does have an atmosphere all of its own, doesn't it?
Yeah, I couldn't really move. I was still behind the goal with Bush and I think Hickey went with his dad.
Yeah, I definitely missed that one. I was being at uni.
I was at uni, funnily enough, in Lincoln.
Probably one of the biggest games of that season at home. Just a shame it was a Tuesday night, but
well, there's not many other games I can pick from that season because we were pretty dreadful.
We did have some good wins at home that year.
Well, Guiseley, Torquay nearly made it.
Sutton.
I was going to say,
I want that.
Yeah.
I won't put in Solihull in, which is the worst performance I've ever seen any Ferriby team put in. Which Howsham should never have left the ground after that game. That was the most embarrassed I've been a Ferriby fan that game.
Right.
So, thank you, Ashley. Samuel, your 5th best Ferriby away game.
So, 19th of March 2016. One of the best results you can have as a Ferriby fan, because it was Boston 1, North Ferriby United 2. Now, anytime you beat them bastards, it's a good day. But this was an especially good day. Attendance of 1,279 that was credited as 51 away fans, although I remember there being more than 51 away fans.
There was more than 51.
I'm pretty sure there was. It was good for a few reasons. Obviously, we were on our way to getting promoted at the end of that year. But the team was Nicklin in goal, Middleton, Danny Hone, Ash Palmer, Josh Wilde. What a back four that is, by the way. Nathan Hottie, Adam Boulder and Liam King as a midfield sort of three. And then Bateson and Brooksby either side of big Tom Denton. And then on the bench was Danny Emerton, Russ Fry, Sam Topless, Mark Graham, Ryan Kendall. Now, what made this game great was that we went 1-0 down, but just 2 minutes later, Danny Hone atoned for what I believe he'd done the year before at Boston, was it, Ash, when he got sent off?
2 years before.
2 years before, for belting Ricky Miller.
I mean, he deserved it, didn't he? What a little rat he was.
It was a twat, it was Ricky Miller.
So, yeah, he equalised in the 24th minute, and there's like quite an iconic picture of Hone in there celebrating in front of the Ferriby fans.
For it.
Yeah, that was a very good one. And then we battled really well in that. It was always a battle at that place. You felt like you were going to war, didn't you? Going to play them.
It did feel like a battle every time. But I think when we went in the playoffs, I think we had a bit of a joke with let's get ready to rumble, didn't we? Because it did feel like an absolute battle every time we went into that place.
Every single game with them is a good game. It's a good occasion, and it was nice to. It's always nice to go there and win, no matter what team you've put out. It's just so good. I mean, we all went in the bar after, didn't we, and saw all the sour Boston fans.
Yeah,
it's always great seeing sour Boston fans. Always makes the day great.
It is.
What made this day great for me was, as you all know,
the fact that Emo scored the
Danny
winner.
Emerton scored the winner. Well, Danny Emerton being my favourite Ferriby player, as people know. Yeah, he scored the winner in the 89th minute in front of their, what I like to call their nutters stand behind the other goal, the opposite end to the away fans who go, it's like looking at a 1980s football hooligan documentary, that stand. I mean, it is. So that was absolutely brilliant. It was a typical Billy Heath away Ferriby performance and win, and it was great. And like I say, we sort of knew what was rumbling that season and what ended up happening at the end of it. So yeah, that was a very good one to win at Boston.
That was very good. Right.
I'm trying to find that picture, by the way. I'm on an old group chat.
Oh God. Right. So the 5th best we're going back to North Ferriby United again. The 5th best North Ferriby United Cup game. I'd take you back to Tuesday, the 19th of November, 2013, in the FA Trophy 3rd round qualifying. Replay, it was. Walker's not very happy about me having this in, but I quite enjoyed it. North Ferriby United 4, Stourbridge 0. So, obviously, we got Stourbridge back to the EVM after a 2-2 draw, which I think is kind of why I put this game in there, because we were leading that game away for a long, long time, and then they equalised in like the last minute. And so to come back to win 4-4 after a side that have just done a bit of a dirty on you is pretty good. So the side for that day was Adam Nicklin, Paul Robson, Greg Anderson, Danny Hearn, Nathan Peat, Liam King and Russ Fry in the centre of midfield, Danny Clark on the right, Jamie Yates on the left, and Kendo and Jamo up front. The substitutes were, I don't have the unused subs, but JD, John Delaria came on for Russ Fry. Larry came on for Jamie Yates, and Sam Belcher, if anybody can remember that name, came on for Greg Anderson.
Remember.
There was 134 people there that night. With goals scored by Liam King. Stour Bridge's website gave it as a Broadhurst own goal, but our programme gave it as a Nanny home goal, so we're going to give it to Honey. And Ryan Kendall scored twice. It was a good night.
There can I just say, I'm looking through his group chat and there's some cracking pictures that you sent.
Was there a league division difference between these two teams at this point?
Yeah, I think there was in the league above, if I can remember.
No, there wasn't. There was either in the Southern League Premier or the Southern League Division 1. I can't remember which one it was. I think it was Southern League Division 1.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
I do remember the game. I didn't go to the original game. You did, didn't you, Jack?
Yeah, I went with Jordan Money, I think.
Yeah. Well, I like I say, I can't remember a massive amount about the game, but I do remember us winning a cup game 4-0 on a Tuesday night.
Yeah, I think I just picked it. It's not particularly memorable, but it's one that showed the character of North Ferriby United, if you know what I mean. It was the character.
Yeah.
Memorable is a good word for that one, because I can't remember bloody
Was that the year in the trophy where we got knocked out by Gosport in the end?
What year was it, Salt?
2013.
Yeah, it will have been.
13-14.
Yeah, it will have been.
Yeah, because
so we went on quite a good run and then lost to Gosport in the end that year.
Yeah. And they ended up getting to the final.
They got to the final, yeah.
Yeah, there's not really much to say about that one, but
You say that again.
it was a good night for all.
God, leave him alone, Walker.
Hornsey versus beating Hornsey 6-1 in the East Riding Cup was more memorable than that.
Come on then, Walker. Let's have your number 4 best home game.
Have we got Sam's away game yet?
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, I've been looking for that picture. I couldn't find it. Well, now I need to get YouTube up because there's a special clip with this. I didn't know. Uncle Bernard wants to speak to us. Right then, there's a clue, Uncle Bernard. Salford on the 20th of March 2018. 1-1 draw. The funeral was already booked for North Ferriby United at this point. This is the night we got relegated from the Conference North. So you remember thinking, why have you put this on? Well, it was a David versus Goliath battle. It was a big game for both teams. I mean, we were already relegated before the game. Let's be perfectly honest. They were battling to get promoted. I can't remember who it was with. Might have been Harrogate. And you know what? I left the ground feeling a lot of pride that night. A lot of pride in the team. And I felt proud after. Okay? 2 reasons. I watched Bernard Morley's post-match interview, which I'll play for you in a minute. And then the Class of 92 full-time documentary when we get referred to as a pub team. Now, that does sound like myself, referring to a lot of teams we play this season, like Emily.
Morning, Emily.
Harrogate Railway. No, Harrogate Railway, I like Harrogate Railway.
They're all right, Harrogate.
Nostell. Parkgate. Who else have we got?
Retford.
Armthorpe. Retford. Who else have we got?
Johnfield.
Basically everyone.
Eastall. Hall Road.
Where's
Brett? Where'sborough? It'd be easy for me to say who's not a pub team. Us. Right. So, first of all, it was very cold that night and Salford down to 10 men after Ibu Toure kicked Paul Robson in the head. It wasn't malicious, it was just a very bad tackle.
Hasn't been robbed or any favours.
And yeah, I think the 10 men really helped us that night. James Nichols got a goal. Let's listen to Bernard Morley for about 10 seconds. Let me turn him up.
Is that disappointing? How would you sum that one up? I'm lost for words, Will, to describe how I'm feeling at the minute and to describe what I've just watched. I'm limited to what I can see on this. But disappointed's far from the truth. Embarrassed.
He was embarrassed. Bernard was embarrassed by his team's lack of ability to beat a pub team. They were nearly sacked after that game, and they saved their asses by pulling back a 4-0 deficit to draw Kidderminster on the Saturday after. Now, we played guess the team for this one. I'm not going to make you do it again. Ross Durant in goal, Jordan Cook, James Pearcey, Jack Mayle and Jack Walters at the back, Jordan Harrison, Jamie Forrester, Lewis Collins, Paul Robson and Luke Lofts in the middle, and Brett Agnew up front. Alex Bannister, AJ George and James Nichols were the 3 subs that came on.
Have we worked out who AJ George is yet?
Yeah, he's...
Right, so who is this AJ George, please, Ash?
Well, I've gone on his Wikipedia. He's currently 23 years of age.
How old was he when he played for Ferriby?
In 2019, that was his last known club, and that was Chippenham Town, a place I went for tea once in August when I stayed in that area. Not the best place in the world. Nice little ground. I saw it on a picture. He didn't play any games for him, according to Wikipedia. Now, Antigua and Barbuda, I was correct. That's where he plays. That's his national team. He's played 2 games for Antigua and Barbuda and scored 1 goal.
Wow.
What a record.
God.
He's prolific.
Internationals at Ferriby, we've had him, Jason St. Just.
Like our Caribbeans, don't we? Oh, there we go.
Where was Jason St. Just? Granada was Jason.
He was St. Kitts.
St. Kitts and Nevis, one of
You know who he scored his goal against, AJ? He scored his goal against Aruba.
Wow.
Wow.
I'm surprised you weren't betting on it, considering you were betting on Malta against Andorra yesterday.
Well, you know, it's an international break. Times are hard. You've got to have some sort of escape, and Andorra Malta seemed a great.
I'm surprised you didn't go for. I'm surprised you didn't go for San Marino Gibraltar, to be honest.
Well, I did as well. No, I didn't bet on that one. I bet on Azerbaijan, and they let me down.
Yorkshire Amateurs Adam Priestley was on the bench for Gibraltar last night.
Right. Well. Moving on. Just to clear that up, we went down by 28 points in that season that Ash is referring to, but it was a great, finger in the eye of them 2 idiots, Salford, to get that point and them to have to come out and say they were embarrassed and everything. Unfortunately, they did end up winning the league, but it didn't last much longer for them 2 clowns who are now at Chester, still stealing a living as football managers, the pair of them, as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, right, should we move on to my number 4?
Let's do it, mate. 4th best away game.
Right, 27th of February 2016.
Oh, God.
With an attendance of 3,419. Now, apart from Stockport, which this isn't, there's only really one place we could be going with an attendance like that in that league.
Leamington. I said Bradford Park Avenue last night.
Yeah, you did. At least you changed it up a bit.
Yeah, I thought it would be boring.
So, Broadhurst Park. And unfortunately, it was FC United of Manchester 3, North Ferriby United 2. FC United of Manchester, a club I've got massive amounts of respect for. People will know I am a Man United fan, so I do admire them as a club and what they did.
Sometimes you are.
And it depends if they're winning.
Shut up.
That's the same with Dortmund, isn't it? Even in Cannes.
No, don't start on this again, please. Anyway, this was our first trip to their sort of brand new ground as it was then, or it wasn't very old anyway. Was it the first season of that place? Yeah. So it was our first visit there. Absolutely amazing day. I mean, the game was memorable. We got beat, but it was a really, really good game. We went 1-0 up from a Liam King penalty after Nathan Hottie was fouled. Matty Wolfenden, who was a long-time player for FC United, played against him countless times as Ferriby fans. He got 2 to put them 2-1 in front. Big Tom Denton scored the most Billy Heath North Ferriby United goal ever with a fucking massive hoof upfield from Danny Hurd. He shoved the defender out the way and scored. That was just typical. But then, unfortunately, Craig Lingfield scored the winner in the 92nd minute for FC United, which nearly made the roof come off the place.
Was that in the bus stop ends?
Yeah.
You know my thoughts on that ground.
Yeah, I know you don't particularly like it, but you're in a minority there. But
Well, I explained it last night. Can I have a chance to explain again why I don't like that ground?
yeah, go on then.
Half of it's good. The other half is pointless, right? You stand behind the goals, good. You stand the seated bit in a nice bar. That's great. What is the point of the stands behind the goal? It's just flat land with a raised roof over it. May as well have a bus stop. That looks.
So you
like.
mean because there's no terracing? That's
What's the point of it?
well, it just makes it look like a full stadium, doesn't it? Rather than a three-sided stadium.
Well, I'd rather have our ground than their ground.
Right.
Those stands look tin pot, if I'm honest. I've just called FC United tin pot.
Yeah, you are.
Uh-huh. And
You
I've
could
called,
really be in trouble now.
I've called half the ground tin pot. Granted, our ground's not great, right? I'm used to our ground being like Wembley compared to the shitholes we have to go to this season, right? Granted, but you know that ground has so much potential, and I just think they haven't really thought it through.
Right. Okay.
That's what I was disappointed with them.
Right. I was going to insult him by calling him the guy off Grand Designs, but I can't even remember his name.
Kevin McLeod.
That's the one. Right.
I
Anyway.
would understand a better stadium. That's all I'm saying.
I can remember the day quite well, but one of the biggest things I can remember is the cesspit of a pub we went in.
Yes,
Great pub.
we went in
Great
this pub before the game. I met you all in Manchester because I came from uni on the train. And you lot were all battered, which is unusual for me to be the sober one. But I was at that point.
It was an early start.
It wasn't, yeah.
Well,
And Reese was a little bit worse for wear, and I believe got banned out of the pub that evening when he got back off the coach
I'm not
and puked
surprised.
up all over the floor.
I was sat next to Jack on the bus, and I don't know if Reese was sat next to me. He came and sat next to me. And all I heard was this noise. He was trying to speak to me. God knows what he was saying.
And
He puked up all over malt shovel carpet, and he's now barred from that pub.
I wonder
yes,
if he still is.
and rightly so.
Probably.
But yeah, I remember going in their bar. We were with Steve Jordan, as all Hull City fans will know him. And there's some great pictures from that day of us lot and the Malt Shovel Boys and everything. And it was a sort of a unique day where sort of only really rivaled by like at Boston where they pen you in anyway, where like all the Ferriby fans were stood together in that little quadrant bit down near the halfway line. And I just remember the celebrations when Denton equalised. We thought we'd nicked a point at the end.
Yeah.
And oh my God, there's photos as well. We'll have to dig them out and put them on our social media or something. But well, we was going mad. What a day. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
And obviously they got the winner, which was disappointing. But it was just... I always enjoyed going there. I remember our first trip to Stalybridge, Ash, to watch us play FC United when we got beat 6-3 on a Tuesday night?
6-3, yeah, 6-3.
Yeah.
Night. First away game of the season, 2011.
Yeah, and I just always used to love playing them just because of the crowd and everything and the atmosphere they had at that level. It was like playing a football league team every time you played them.
And it was always good them coming here as well. I mean,
yeah.
They travel no matter what day of the week it is.
And I would say they've had a bit of a fall from grace so recently, haven't they? I must say.
Yeah,
I think they are slowly building back up, though. I think they're getting there. They got rid of the long-term manager, didn't they? Who'd been the manager ever since they were formed.
I think they had a lot of off-field problems, and also what hasn't helped them is Salford. A lot of their fans have jumped ship there, I think.
Yeah.
Probably.
And it was disappointing for them, as it was for all the non-league teams, but for them to be on the BBC at home against Doncaster Rovers last week in the FA Cup and to not be allowed any fans in, I mean, that place would have been bouncing if it was without COVID. Yeah. So that was...
COVID they'd have probably, to be honest, I reckon they'd have probably beaten them if it wasn't for COVID. I reckon the fans would have made that much of a difference.
I will just take this moment to say well done to everyone who did get through in the FA Cup, especially Marine. What a result that was.
Unbelievable.
And Chorley as well. Massive win for Chorley. Another team we had loads of great battles with Ferriby. So yeah, that was brilliant and brilliant to see. But yes, that is my number 4, a memorable day for the on the pitch action and the drunken antics by certain people off it, but not me for once.
For the first time ever, I think. But
The only
right
time,
then,
yeah.
so the 4th best cup game. We again go back to North Ferriby United. We go to Saturday, the 7th of February, 2015, where 610 people watched us beat Ebbsfleet United in the FA Trophy quarter-finals at what was the EVM at that point. The Ferriby lineup was Adam Nicklin, Sam Topless, Greg Anderson, Danny Hearn, Josh Wild, Russell Fry, Adam Boulder, Danny Clark, Liam King, Jason St. Just, and Big Tom Denton. The subs were Tom Nicholson, Mark Gray, who replaced Greg after 14 minutes. I believe he was injured, wasn't he?
Dislocated his shoulder, I think.
Yeah.
He was going through a stage at that point in his career where it kept nagging him as a problem all the time.
Yeah. Nathan Pete, who replaced Josh Wild after 82 minutes. JD, John Delario was an unused sub. And the final sub was Ryan Kendall, who came on for Adam Boulder. And the only goal, as we all know, was from the penalty king, Mr. Liam King, after 88 minutes. And I think the reason why I've chosen this, although it was a 1-0, sorry, is because that was really the day when we thought, lads, we could actually do something in this trophy, you know. We've got the character here to be able to really, really get somewhere. And obviously the history books allowed we did. But yeah, that was a great day. We were all there. We were all getting very nervous, weren't we, about extra time, I remember. But yeah, we got the foul in the 88th minute. There was an infringement in the box, and Kenny Clark, who played for Ebbsfleet at that time, don't know who he is. Sorry, Kenny.
I think he's had a decent non-league career, Kenny Clark. I think he'd been around the block for a while.
Well, he was sent off. So yeah, I mean, we scored the goal in the 88th. Liam King just doesn't miss penalties. We all know that. And yeah, it was just one of those afternoons/evenings where I don't really know how to describe it really, because it was one of those where, like I said, we knew we had a chance. We got to the quarterfinals and we thought, oh, could we actually do something here? And then we won the quarterfinal. And then obviously famously had Bath.
I meant to ask last night, was it the same penalty that he then went on to keep doing throughout the rest of it? So that high into the top corner.
Yeah, it was.
He did against Bath, and he did twice at Wembley.
Yeah.
And you would think that the goalkeepers would have learnt by then. Although he did get it right in the top corner, didn't he? He had a way of taking penalties that was just superb.
They're unsavable, mate. Unsavable.
Yeah.
Manuel Neuer.
What a player he was.
I mean, he is the ultimate, the best player, in my opinion, to play for North Ferriby United or FC. He's an absolute hero. We should have a statue
for him.
There should be a statue of Liam King outside the ground. I agree.
Yeah.
But yeah, and obviously everyone again talking about iconic pictures remembers that picture of him running towards the corner flag, celebrating. And Jack, you've summed that up perfectly, because we'd beaten the likes of Hyde and Micklover Sports, and obviously we got through a replay against Boston, and then when the draw went a bit further afield, obviously we'd beaten Farnborough, but Farnborough were a bit of a basket case of a club at that stage, and
they were farmers.
Yeah, they weren't great at all. So Ebbsfleet was the big test. And they were throwing a lot of money about at the time. And I remember Ash saying to me, like, God, if we'd have drawn them away, I really wouldn't have been confident at all. Yeah. And it was one of them games where
Actually, under Billy.
I remember us having the conversation, Ash. He said,
in hindsight, looking back, under Billy, you never know, do you?
No, you don't.
But it was one of them days where you go to the ground and it was nervous excitement. And all right, the crowd was only 600 and something, but the atmosphere was amazing. And it was one of them games where, because it was dragging on at 0-0 until right near the end, it was, your guts were doing somersaults. You were thinking we're so close to the semi-final.
Didn't Achimpong, their centre-half, go off injured? And didn't we have a long stoppage time?
Yes, he did. He did go off injured.
Ambulance, wasn't it? They signed him, one of their big signings, Achimpong, centre-half.
I remember reading about it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
a brilliant day that, and like you said,
really
Jack.
was.
After that was when we started to see the Wembley Arch in the distance. I
Oh
think
yeah,
after that game,
definitely, mate, 100%.
and yeah, it was a typical captain's knock from Kingy.
Yeah. So, Ashley, the third best home game of football in North Ferriby.
Is this where we got up to last night?
And we went past this
Pretty
because I
much,
did
yeah.
my number 3, didn't I?
Right,
Just
so
about.
Oh, yeah.
we're nearly there. Right, we're nearly on something new. So 11th of October, 2011. It was a 6-3 victory over Ashton. What was significant about the game? It was Billy Heath's first home game.
The king.
Which I did pick out last night as well on the
he did.
rehearsal edition before Ash said. But yes,
one word I've written down is fun. It was a fun night of football. Two
It
teams
was.
that were just gung ho going for it. It was Alex Davidson's second debut for the club since resigning from Guiseley, and he, along with Bradders up top, absolutely battered them. They didn't really have an answer. Bradders got 3, Davidson got 2, and Paul Harsley scored a penalty. There was 165 people there. Now, I talked about this last night. The team, I've had to sit through Richard Watts' commentary 5 times to try and get the team. I've got 12 players who started. So, I've guessed at one position. I'll explain it when I get there. Steve Wilson in goal. Like I said last night, it's his next player. I don't remember him ever playing for us. Greg Wright. Paul Foote, Nathan Peake, Kev Larvin at the back. Wayne Brooksby, Paul Harsley. Now, it's either Russell Fry or Peter Davidson. I've gone with Russell Fry. Alex Davidson, Danny Clark, whose debut it was, and he got an assist, and Gary Bradshaw. That was our team.
Are you sure he wasn't just getting Pete and Alex Davidson mixed up, and that's why he maybe said Pete?
But I'm sure I saw Pete Davidson playing. But I've gone with Russ. So you might have said Davidson, Alex Davidson. But yeah, that was the team that night. Don't ask me who the subs were, because I don't know. Pete Davidson might have been a sub. Russell Fry might have been a sub. We've got one sub. Yeah, Billy wasn't happy after this game, and we soon realised, what he was like for his defensive effort, because we conceded 3 goals. But we weren't very good before Billy took over. And I think this was a start of us building something very special. And yeah, it was the start of a new era, and that's why it's made the top list, the top 5.
You are spot on, Ash. It was the start of a new era, because before then, even as fans, our attitude, we came away from that game laughing and joking and taking the piss and thinking, oh, we've scored 6 goals, we're amazing and all that. And Billy was looking at it like, yeah, we've scored 6, but we've let 3 in. And he came and he wanted to be a winner. And no offence to the managers previous to that, we'd made the playoffs a couple of seasons before or whatever, but the total attitude of the playing group and everything changed when Billy came in. And that was the start of it that night against Ashton, where I guess Billy saw what was good in the squad and also saw what needed to be improved. And we ended up going from there.
What a man. He needs a statue as well.
He does.
He needs a statue.
He really does.
Where can we have a statue? On top of the turnstile.
On top of the turnstile.
He'll have his arms folded, don't he? Not looking happy.
Oh yeah, he can't look happy. God,
Yeah,
unbuttoned white shirt.
is he having Bobby with him?
Oh, Bobby's next to him. Bobby's next to him.
The statue from that image at Wembley where they were trying to celebrate, and Gwillem Lloyd was trying to jump on the top of the pair of them. You idiot.
But
Right.
yeah, what's a game? So Samuel.
Number 3 for me, right. I'm afraid it's another defeat. But this is my last defeat. And I'm afraid you two weren't there either, but I have to put this one in for sort of selfish reasons. So it was the 29th of April, 2017. Torquay United 2, North Ferriby United 0, with an attendance of 4,026. Now, this was Ferriby's last ever game in the Conference Premier, and unless miracles happen, probably our last ever game at that level ever.
We need every single cup to fold, don't we?
So that made it special. We were already down. Torquay needed to win to guarantee staying up. So I'll just run through the Ferriby team. Owen Evans in goal. Don't really remember that much about him.
He was on loan from Wigan, was Owen Evans.
Robbie
Playing the Football League,
Tinkler,
mate.
Ben Middleton, Mark Gray, Topo, Connor Oliver, Taron Hare, who was replaced by Jordan Cook, Matty Dixon, George Thompson, I believe. That might be wrong. There was someone called... Oh, no, not... Reese Thompson, who was replaced by George Bell. Sorry, that's my fault. Danny Emerton and Ryan Fallowfield, and the two unused subs were Steve Brogan and Curtis Bateson. But what was special about this weekend was that me and Hickey, who's been on the show before, went on a national holidays bus weekend to Torquay. Now, Ash really wanted to go as well. Unfortunately,
Morrison's
current
wouldn't let me.
not his
They're
current
not my current
employers,
employer.
his previous
Former
employers wouldn't let him have the time off. So
They let the woman who does the flowers time off for not me.
anyway, so us
Right.
two and a lot of other faces, mainly from the Malt Shovel pub, turned up at Paragon bus station on that Friday morning, and I think we gave a few old women some heart attacks because they're not used to that on their peaceful weekends to the seaside on national holidays. With us singing "Wear the Green and White Army" and all that, getting on the coach. I think even the coach driver was a bit worried. It's the longest. It was like one of them journeys as a kid on a school trip where you went to Germany or France or something on a bus and just sat on a bus for what felt like forever. Well, obviously, as you know, Torquay's a bloody long way. And we kept stopping at garden centres all the way down, not even service stations, so there was no Mackey's or Burger King or anything like that. It was just
We got a nice jacket potato from a garden centre with some butter and some beans and cheese on.
I think we were just watching Watto, to be honest, and his antics at all these garden centres. And in the end, we took a picture. There was all of us flashing the V's at this garden centre outside. I remember getting very drunk in the hotel on the night. We all had free drinks vouchers, which was a mistake, giving it to us lot. I think it traumatised Hickey for life that night.
I've heard stories, Sam. I've heard stories.
There was, God, it was mental. We watched Hull FC win in the pub, so I was in a good mood. And then, so we was all feeling a little bit sorry for ourselves going to the game because I think it was an early kickoff. Brilliant ground. Is it Plainmoor? Is that right? Yeah. Brilliant stadium. Loved it. And all the Ferriby fans together, giving it loads for 90 minutes, singing, loads of flags, everything. It was a really nice sunny day. It just felt like a happy occasion. Even though we were getting relegated bottom of the league, it was our little club waving farewell to the National League. And we all had a picture outside the team bus at the end, I remember as well. It was just a really, really sort of special occasion in a sort of slightly morbid way with us going down. But I loved it. And then the icing on the cake for me was winning a 200-1 bet on the Sunday that paid for the full weekend. So yeah, absolutely brilliant. So even though it was a defeat, that's my number 3.
So
is it at this time we get the balloons out because we made it past where we made it last night?
I think you heard this one, but
we heard about the first sentence of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the number 3 cup game of football in North Ferriby, we go back a long way. It's a long way. It's months and years. To Saturday, the 10th of October, 2020, when 300 people watched the mighty North Ferriby FC beat Norwich Victoria 3-2 in the FA Vars second qualifying round. In case you've been living under a rock, I'll tell you the team. It was Lewis Exall, Ben Leyland, Levi Talbot and Niall Tilsley, Loz Mackay, Louis Kirk and Ewan Healy in the centre of midfield, Danny Emerson on the right, Jamie Forrester on the left, and our sponsoree, Danny East, in behind Tom Corner. The subs that day were John Douglas, Joel Shortland, Danny Buttle, who replaced Jamie Forrester, Gary Bradshaw, and, as we know, famously, Scott Phillips, who replaced Tom Corner. The goals came from Louis Kirk in the 40th minute. Yes, I'm as surprised as you are. Scott Phillips in the 75th minute, and as we all know, Danny East with a penalty in the 78th minute. What a day, boys. What a day. This had to make it. If any North Ferriby FC Cup game was going to make it, it was this.
Yeah,
What an
I
unreal day.
I agree. I could be cheeky and say that Withenshaw was better, but that's not really fair, is it, Jack? We can't.
I mean,
can't really.
yes.
What I would say for that one is, okay, I think the Norwich one was probably more special because fans were there.
Yeah.
Ferriby fans, it's at home. It's more of an occasion.
Yeah. I know. I'm just being facetious. I agree.
I mean,
When he says about it's only Ferriby game, Ferriby FC Cup game, I think he's forgetting that South Cave first round East Riding Cup game last season, Sam.
Or the Selby one in the Northern Counties East League Cup.
Goodness me, that would have made the top 5 worst, that South Cave one.
It would. But yeah, that was, I think we could all agree, was...
Oh, it was a brilliant day. I mean,
day.
some of the, like, we keep talking about pictures, but some of the pictures from that game, I mean, Scotty Phillips, the knee slide and that, and the scenes in that stand, you know, and balls to social distancing and all that. You know, it was a special occasion, and we were playing. It's the first time we've played a proper team.
Yeah.
Like since we've been North Ferriby FC, a team that were really going to give us a test. And what I got from the game, and I don't know what Ash thinks, I'll let him come in a minute, but we went 2-1 down, and it was the fact we came back and won. That was massive. That showed a lot about the character of the team, and we've gone on to replicate that since with our win at Campion in the league and the comeback win at Withenshaw again in the next round of the trophy, of the Vase, sorry. So yeah, absolutely brilliant, and obviously it was good for us as well for the 2010 Villagers with Mr. East getting the winner. But yeah, I'll shut up and let Ash have his take.
Well, I agree, Sam. It was the first time that this current crop of players has shown some bollocks really in the second half and changed it around. Yeah, I agree. Cracking day, and you know what? A lot of these games have a theme. What happened after the game? Plenty of beer, takeaway. College football at Sam's grandma's house, PlayStation. What a night!
It was. It was just
singing "We're Going to Wembley." Morrison's was a personal highlight.
Yes.
And then we realised we had about another 9 games we had to win to get to Wembley.
We was fed some misinformation. I felt like one of these people on Facebook who was against vaccines. You know, being fed this false information about how we're going to die and have chips in us, and we're going to go to Wembley after 3 more games. But ignore me.
But no, I mean the day as a whole. I mean, we won't go on about it too much because it's fairly fresh in the memory. But we just remember after the game being so jubilant and thinking, God, what have we actually done here? We've beaten a side like Norwich Victoria, which was really amazing. And obviously we went on to replicate it at Withenshaw, which was very close to making this list, I must say. But yeah, that is
it was special.
So uncharted territory, boys. What we got?
Well, this is my wild card, I want to call it. I'm not one for choosing bog standard home games in the middle of November. But I've chosen this one. It was an entertaining game, a fierce rival.
This is your number 2, remember? So it's got to be good.
I think it's good. Yeah, 7th of November, my father's birthday, 2015. We played Boston at home. We beat them 4-3. Do you remember it?
I do remember it. Yes, I do remember it now. Yeah.
Yeah. Back and forth game.
Yes.
Really entertaining game of football. 2 of the best teams in that league going at it. We went behind twice. King scored 2. Denton got the 3rd goal, I believe. And Denton always scored against Boston. It's a given. That Piagiani's robbing a living in the Football League. Jesus Christ. And then Matt Gray popped up to make it 4-2.
Yes, that was it.
I remember that now.
Gray made it 4-2, and then Boston scored right at the end to make it 4-3. There was a big Boston following who followed them to each end.
Yeah.
It was going mental. It was a great game. It was a great advert for non-league football.
Hmm.
The reason it's in there, because it was a great game of football. It was against Boston, who we all despise. They despise us as well.
Yeah.
And we went out after.
Again?
There's a theme. I don't remember much about going out that night, though, Sam. I remember going out that night. I think we went to your house and then into town. The team that day, it was pretty bog standard Believe promotion season team. Adam Nicklin, Ben Middleton, Matt Gray, Ash Palmer, Josh Wild, Curtis Bateson, Russ Fry, Liam King, Danny Emerton, Tom Denton, and Danny Clark. It's a bit of a surprising choice. I will say it's a surprising choice, but for me, I could have put the Boston playoff semi-final in there, but that was just too obvious. Let's put another Boston game in, an entertaining league game, which is a great advert. Off we go.
End of the day, mate, any victory over Boston is well worth of being in a top 5. So.
You have to have a Boston game in there.
And a playoff game is sort of like a cup sort of scenario anyway. So in terms of league games, I think that's a good one. I remember it now. You say I remember Mark Gray scoring. And yeah, it was one of them where they brought loads. But it, again, as always with Boston, it didn't feel like a really nice is probably the wrong word, but a good football occasion like it did when FC United came or when York came or Lincoln or people like that. But Boston, it just felt hostile every time.
They were always looking for a bit of trouble.
Yeah. And you know, when we used to beat them, you used to think, God, people's cars are going to get bricked or whatever, you know, as they all leave the ground. And that might sound bad, but they had form for it.
It all kicked off, didn't it? Kicked off in the playoff semi-final with them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like you say, Ash. It would have been a good game against anybody. Them topsy-turvy non-league games. People don't realise these football league and Premier League snobs who, you know, all right, we're in lockdown again now. But when we weren't in lockdown, we're like, oh well, we can't go and watch football, and we can't do this, and we can't do that. And we're like, well, you've probably got a team 10 minutes down the road from you that you could go and watch, but you're not, and you sit and moan. And it's games like that people should realise what value you get out of a non-league.
You do get your own best go at home 0-0 though.
You do, yeah, but you've got to expect that. You know, you get Burnley 0, West Brom 0 in the Premier League. But...
Yeah, but people get excited about that, which is wrong. Premier League, most overhyped league in the world. My opinion. You get too many Burnley West Brom games. You don't get enough crackers in that league.
No, but yeah, this was a cracker, and like you say, it deserves recognition just because it was against Boston and beating them.
That's an insane. If it was against, you know, some other crap, not crap. If it was against some other bog standard national, League North team, it probably wouldn't make it. It was against Boston, and the fact who went out after.
Yeah,
I can't remember it.
Right, Samuel.
Right
best away
now,
game.
my 2 last away games should be quite obvious. It's probably just a case of which order they're in.
I'm thinking they're obvious, but I'm worried now.
Right.
I think I can probably get one. I reckon it's your second one.
Number 2 is the 23rd of November, 2013.
I think I'm right.
Mm-hmm.
Attendance of 2,608 at Edgeley Park.
Edgeley Park.
Saw Stockport County 1, North Ferriby United 2. With a team that day of Adam Nicklin, Robbo, Nathan Pete. This is in number order, by the way. It's not formation order. Liam King, Matt Wilson, Greg Anderson, Danny Clark, Russ Fry, Anthony Wilson, Nathan Jarman, and Jamie Yates was our team. Now, this was amazing. Now, this was our first year in the Conference North, I believe.
Yeah.
And after winning the league in the Northern Premier League the year before, and we were amazing. And the one person who stood out, obviously, that day was Wilson. He absolutely bossed it against Stockport, scored 2 goals. They could not deal with him whatsoever. Their consolation came from Phil Jevons. But they never really looked like troubling us, and it was just a fact of it was the first time we'd had that. Fucking hell, this is Little North Ferriby going to Edgeley Park of all places and beating them, and you know, just memories of that day of us all stood on that open seating bit behind the goal and that scoreboard that said County 1 and Ferriby 2 at the end, and what a feeling. It was just amazing. And was that the one where we went in there like social club or something outside it before?
After we went in there. Year after we went in there.
Did we? Right.
Which year were we in the minibus?
We did a minibus that year, yeah.
Yeah, the first year. But again, there was a big relatively big following from Ferriby, and a lot of the Stockport fans had never heard of us before.
Yeah.
And again, it was just great because they were coming away from the ground fuming, going, "What the fuck? We're getting beat by this?" You know, like the Salford like pub team
Yeah.
type scenario.
That's how we feel
Um,
when we get beat by Emily, basically, and get beat by Armthorpe and teams like that. That's how we feel. And Winterton, that little pub team. That's how we feel we play them. Sorry, no, I respect Winterton. I won't call them a pub team.
um,
But
we
to
were
be
we
fair,
were all at Edgeley Park that day, weren't we?
we were,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
only one memory.
I think that's one. If you ask Les what his
Yeah.
favourite games were, I think that one would always be in Les and Jill's mind as well, which makes it a special one. So yeah, it would take something very good to beat that as my number one away game, but something has, as you will
Well,
find
I
out
think
in
I'm
a
pretty
bit.
confident I know what it is.
Well, there's one memory of that day that you've missed out, Sam.
Oh.
I know we've mentioned it on the show before.
Oh, is this the 606 thing?
Yeah,
Was
yeah,
this?
yeah.
Oh, yes. Oh, go on. You can refresh people's memory on that, Salt.
Yeah, so obviously, little old North Ferriby went and won it into the park, as we just discussed. And our old mate Reese, evening Reese, if you're watching, you're probably not.
He's not.
Yeah, decided that the win was that good on the way home after a couple of bevs that he decided to ring Robbie Savage up at 6. And I remember we stopped at this service station. It was probably to get more beer. And yeah, I just remember him being on the phone. And I remember him coming back on the bus after we'd been in the services and saying, "I'm going on 606. I'm going on 606." So we said, "Reece, what did they ask you?" They said, "Who do you want to talk about?" He said, "No, Ferriby." Why? What do you want to say? Anthony Wilson's the greatest striker in the league. Surprisingly, he didn't get a phone call back.
That poor researcher who answered that call is probably traumatized for life.
I think it's an injustice, though, that he didn't get on. The listenership of 606 that night would have gone through the roof.
I want to say, though, I've got a feeling that we won non-league team of the day that day.
I think we did. I think Robbie Savage did give us that.
Yeah.
It was
Then
on.
why didn't they ring him back?
Did. I don't know why. I don't know why they didn't.
That's good memory, that Jack. That is good.
I remember that being on the bus and reading. Bloody hell! We know we'd done well to win at Edgeley Park, but we've been given non-league team of the day, which was really nice, and the whole day was just amazing. Every Ferriby fan will agree. So, the second best cup game in the history of North Ferriby United.
There's only two options.
There's only two options here, but I think he might have forgotten about them, Ash, but we'll find out.
We'll see.
We go to Saturday, the 24th of January, 2015, in the FA Trophy first round, where we made the long old trip down to the Farmers, as Walker calls them, to Farnborough. I mean, we can all agree what a day this was. The team: Adam Nicklin, Louis Bruce, Danny Hearn, Greg Anderson, Josh Wild, Russell Fry, Liam King, Danny Clark, Jason St Just, Ryan Kendall, and Big Tom Denton. The bench that day was Tom Nicholson, Mark Gray, Nathan Peake, who replaced Louis Bruce, JD as an unused substitute again, John Delaria, and Adam Boulder, I believe it is, who replaced Ryan Kendall. And the goals, obviously, Tom Denton scored. That was just a given. And Ryan Kendall after the half-hour mark. But yeah, that was a day that we all remember for certainly different reasons. The football probably isn't one of them. The bus journey home is probably the main one. But yeah, what have we got to say about that one, boys?
You go first, Sam.
What I will say is it was a very, very memorable day. We all went down on a minibus. Big Bob, God bless him, was driving. And yeah, it was a bloody long way again. Say a bit like Torquay. It was a long way on a minibus. Brilliant day. I remember, we was all having a laugh and beers, and we all had a bet and everything. Like you do at away games. And we had that picture at half time with our old green and white army flag that's been everywhere. And it was a pretty easy game, really. We battered them. We should have won by more, and we were just so much better as a side. I always rate Northern teams over Southern teams anyway.
There's the away following.
Oh God, yeah.
Wow.
I think it was more than that. I don't think everybody went into the stand.
There we are.
Oh God. Yeah.
What we'll do is, we're thinking about it. We'll dig out on social media and things. We'll find some pictures from some of these games and put them
We have
out
to go on to the
on
depths
social
of these
media.
group chats.
Yeah. And yeah, a random trivia fact that I always remember from that day was the day that Bradford won at Stamford Bridge in the FA Cup. I always remember that fact for some reason. Was the same day as that. And then, yeah, on the way back with me and yours, Jack, and Jack Hickman's bladders all nearly burst.
I was sat in the front of this minibus.
Quite literally.
I think, yeah. Front of this minibus.
You weren't enjoying it, were you, Ash?
Well, I must have been drinking.
You will have been. Everybody else was.
I can control my bladders unlike you three muppets.
What were your thoughts on the game then, Ash?
Oh, it was easy. They were crap. We bullied them. And that's when their manager came out and called us brutal before the game, and we just took the mick of them for that. Billy did a job on them. I remember I got a burger, which cost me a lot of money. It was a very expensive burger. It was a nice ground, as you can see on the picture I just showed. That stand, if I could wheel that stand to our ground, I'd do it tomorrow.
Oh, I would, 100%.
It's a beautiful ground. You can see why they was in financial trouble there. There's nobody there.
Nobody there with a stadium like that, yeah.
But yeah, you know, it was a nice day. Good day out. It'd have been my number 3 though, not my number 2.
Well, I've probably missed out a game that you probably would have put in. I'll warn everybody now watching. Neither of the Bath games are in here. Neither is the final because I wasn't there. So yeah.
If you weren't there, you know, it's fair enough not to put them in your top 5. Obviously, people will be wondering where are these games, but you know, now you've said
that's why I thought I'd say
that's the reason. Yeah, so that's fair enough.
Can we explain why he wasn't at Bath?
Oh yeah,
he was having a hissy fit because he wasn't being able to go to the final.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember. I went to Stoke to watch City when the second leg of the Bath game was. I remember that was one of the worst games of football I've ever watched.
But it was a good day, Farnborough. I remember their bar before the game, and then we got another good atmosphere with the Ferriby fans who travelled a long way, and it was just a great time to be a Ferriby fan. Them seasons, it was just brilliant.
It was. Yeah, that's my second. So Walker,
right
here we go
for the number 1 home game.
Sam's just sat there and said playoff games don't count as a.
No, I didn't say they don't count.
Now, the playoff game I've chosen, I haven't got the date. Was when we got beat 1-0 by Guiseley. It's not really. It's the filed playoff final, of course it is. It's got to be, hasn't it?
Yes.
Right. I'm going to talk about a trend in these games in a minute. Right. Bit of context. What wasn't allowed to be served in the bar?
We're going to say beer.
Yeah. We weren't allowed to serve alcohol in the bar. So we all went to Duke before the game.
Oh God, we did.
Yes.
Yes.
Why weren't you allowed to serve alcohol? Do you remember? Oh, was it because of Boston kicking off the week before?
No, I don't think we're allowed to say why it was.
Oh, right, okay.
No.
Right, don't say it then.
Put it on the group chat. I'm sure we'll probably be able to, but I won't say it just in case. Because of what comes up later.
Yeah.
So there was an alcohol ban. So I went to Duke. I got the train down. A few filed fans on the train. It was a really nervous day. It was one of those really nervous days, you know, when the build up and the anticipation. The other thing I've written is end of an era, because I think this is a time where that part of North Ferriby United died, and I think this was the start of a decline.
Yeah,
100% agree.
And there's another thing I'll talk about in a minute, which probably shows that. The starting 11 that day was Nicklin, Topless, Hone, Palmer, Wild, Brooksby, King, Boulder, Bateson, Clark and Denton. The subs were Kendall, Emerton, Fry, Gray and Middleton. And obviously the goal scorers were Wayne Brooksby, who pulled it back to 1-1, and then Danny Hone in extra time. out of that starting 11, how many of them stayed for the next season?
None.
More than none. I'll read it again.
Bateson was there.
I'll read it again. The starting 11 was Nicklin, Topless, Hone,
Topless
Palmer.
was.
Yep, so you got 2 so far. Brooksby, King, Boulder, Bates, and Clark and Denton.
So Bateson and Topper.
Clark stayed for.
I was going to say Clark did it, yeah, because I remember seeing some kid with Clark 7 on the back of the shirt.
The bench was Kendall, Emerton, Fry, Gray, and Middleton. 4 of those 5 stayed with us. Kendall, Emerton, Gray, and Middleton stayed. Russell Fry didn't. So I think that was a big problem we had, was we'd lost a lot of star players.
Yeah, we lost Kingy. We lost the 2 amazing centre halves we had. We lost the amazing goalkeeper we had, and we lost Denton up front. You know that was the spine of the team essentially. No offense to the players I haven't mentioned, but you know that was.
And there was one key thing that you're missing out that we didn't have.
The big man, Billy,
the big man,
big bad Billy. Right. Anyway, so why is this game in there? It was just a special day. It was a special day. Drinks after the game. The bar did serve drinks after the game. Right. But we'll just brush over that fact. Some decent pictures after the game. I like to talk about pictures. And then what was the most important thing about that day? Was the fire pit in Greeny's Garden. Talking about, you know, the future of the club and how we're going to how we're going to be awesome in the National League, not knowing what was to come. There was a theme. There is a theme. Greeny pops up a lot in these games.
Big games,
Greeny.
yeah.
He was at Northwich. He was at the AFC Fylde player final. The Boston game that Sam talked about, we went to Greeny's house after.
He features in my number 1 as well.
Northwich, he was at Northwich.
I think he features in my number 1 as well.
I think he does as well, if it's the number 1 I'm thinking of. We need him. We need to get him on. Hashtag get Greeny on. That's my... let him talk about his experiences. And you know what? He'll put some free better tips out there for people.
I will.
It was a special day, that one.
Day.
That was probably the last day of North Ferriby United where you felt it was the last special occasion. Maybe.
Yes. Yeah. You know, don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed the National League season, but it was the decline and it was different without Billy. This was the climax of the Billy era. We'd had the euphoria of beating Boston. And then another theme I'd like to pick out in these big games is us going 1-0 down, like we did against Bath in the semi-final second leg in the trophy. And then we went 1-0 down against Fylde, and we thought, oh, God, here we go. And then Brooksby, who I remember being fantastic on that day, it was he tapped in a cross from Adam Boulder, I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it was really, but the best part was to see that Honey got the winner in extra time because he'd been a fantastic player for Ferriby. One of the best centre backs I've ever seen play at that level. And yeah, it was an amazing day. But like you say, Ash, it was an amazing day tinged with sadness because it really was like the end of the era.
It was the end, yeah.
It felt strange after that game, I must say. There was a very strange atmosphere.
Yeah, because we sort of knew the murmurings that people were going, and it wasn't going to be the same, didn't we?
We didn't care. We had Greeny's fire pit to go back to. We've got 3 boxes of Budweiser.
I remember the pictures of all of us with the trophy though and everything, and you know it was just amazing to have won the trophy the year before, and then to do that it just made me feel blessed anyway that I'd gone to that Hull City friendly in 2010 or 2011, whenever it was, and just got hooked on it, and you know the memories that we had since, just amazing.
Yeah, no, it's ace. You know, and I think that is a special day that will live long in the memory. And plus, Fylde probably came in as favourites as well.
They did.
Yeah, they did.
There was I always remember one of the best parts about the day. No one can stop us. Fylde Football League 2022. How's that gone for you, gents? Is all I'm going to say.
Well, if they go up this year, to the National League, that's 2021. If we go up straight again, that's 2022. So there are still.
Yeah, but there was a key thing, Walker. They had Danny Rowe back then. They don't now.
Yeah, they don't now. Yeah.
They've got big. What's his face? The manager. What's his name?
It's
Bentley.
Jim Bentley
Big Jim Bentley in the dugout. The B-Tech Billy Heath.
That was the year that Solihull won the league, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Even though we had a great win there that season.
Yeah, 3-2.
But yeah,
3-1.
3-1, I think. Dents. That was the one in January, wasn't it? If you remember.
Yeah, I know we went.
Yeah. Remember us the
Yeah.
drive home from that one? We won't say anything about that.
He's psychologically scared, Sam, so don't bring it up to him. Won't sleep tonight.
Well, I must say, Ash, I think you picked out probably the right one there in terms of league games at home.
A good top five, Ash. A good top five.
Right.
I won't say what. There's some very close ones I just missed out, but we'll
come to them. We'll come to them at the end.
So Samuel,
the
number one away game. This will be good.
Right. Oh God, I've just realised I've not written the date down.
Outrageous.
So
I think I know it.
Go on then. What date do you think it was? Don't say the game.
I think it's the 16th of March.
2013.
13, yeah.
2013. He is correct, I believe. There was an attendance of 906 at Keys
Sounds
Park.
about right. Yeah.
Hensford.
Yeah.
Now, this is my favourite ever North Ferriby United game. Even above Wembley, above anything else. This was the best. So it was Hensford 2, North Ferriby United 3. And this was the day that really won us the league, I believe, that season. And there's a lot going on about this day. But I'll get to that. So the team was Nicklin in goal, Robbo, Nathan Pete, Greg Anderson, Paul Foote, Kingy, Clark, Fry, Anthony Wilson, Ryan Kendall, and Ryan Williams. With subs, Bradshaw came on for Kendall, Steve Ridley came on for Williams, Chris Boulder, came on for King. And the unused subs were Hill and Pecora.
Rob Hill, what a man he was. What a player.
Now, this was special for the fact that when we walked in, I'd barely walked down to the touchline to have a look at the pitch when all the people in the stand behind the goal started chanting Sam Shepherd is a wanker. They
weren't wrong though, were they? Due
to a certain Facebook page that was on the go at the time.
Hey, it's still on the go. I'm still a member.
It's still on the go. They didn't like me very much, did they, Ash?
Well, you were a bit of a keyboard warrior.
You bit? Bloody hell. Very much so.
So that was quite funny. I remember going and standing right near them, actually, just as the game kicked off, because we were going that way in the first half. And yeah, it was quite frosty. And then the Ferriby fans were singing Sam Shepherd is a legend. And yeah, it was just great. It was funny. I've dined off that story ever since.
Yes.
But anyway, the game. So we went ahead very early on. Ryan Kendall scored the opening goal after a cross from Anthony Wilson. And we were comfortable for a lot of the game, but then it all sort of kicked off towards the end. So if I've got the scoring order right, we then went 2-0 up just after half-time. Anthony Wilson again. Now, this was when Wilson hadn't been at Ferriby very long, but we already knew what a great player he was going to be. This was like the Stockport performance from him. They couldn't deal with him. Francino Francis, in particular, will have had nightmares.
Fatty Francis has got
So it was 2-0 after 52 minutes. Then on the hour mark, Neil Harvey scored after a mix-up between Greg Anderson and Nicklin that neither will want to see again.
Dolphin. Neil Harvey of a Dolphin.
Yes. And at 2-1 came the moment where Adam Nicklin made the best save I have ever seen live. And I will argue that with anybody, but that the save from Nathan Wolfe, absolutely amazing. And the video's still on YouTube, the highlights video from that day, and they slow it down as well on slow motion, the replay. What a save. Absolutely amazing. Anyway, we then went 3-1 up. Anthony Wilson again beating Fatty Francis. And everything looked easy until our current manager, Mr. Balder, decided to give a penalty away in the 87th minute, which our favourite man, Elliot Durrell, put away to make it a slightly nervous last few minutes. But we held on, 1-3-2. We went 9 points clear of Hensford that day. I'm not sure what the games in hand situation was because we only ended up winning the league on goal difference in the end. But that was a massive 6-point swing game towards it. Another topsy-turvy game between that league that year. There were 2 teams won the Ash and the rest were nowhere near. It was Ferriby and Hensford and the rest were just playing, keep...
we both got over 90
numbers
points.
up. Yeah.
Hensford won the playoffs as well, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is my favourite ever away game. Just the characters that were there, like you say, Greeny was there, the likes of Ron and Dennis, from the old crowd, and it was superb, great coach journey as well, and it went a long way towards us winning the league title, which was the first sort of massive thing Ferriby did while we were Ferriby fans.
Don't forget the Doomson Cup.
Yeah, but there's a bit of a difference between that and getting promoted to the Conference North, Ash.
They did also win the Senior Cup in our first year.
Oh my God. But anyway, there was only ever going to be one number one for my away games, and it is that one. Hensford 2, NFU 3.
So, the last game we've got is the best cup game that isn't Wembley or Bath. We take you back, or I take you back, to Saturday the 28th of April 2012, as all of us travelled on a coach up to Eastwood to watch us beat Russell Olympic 4-1 in the Dewston Cup final. Now, this day is not on there for what happened on the pitch, and I will tell you why later. But it was very good that was on the pitch as well. So the team was Adam Nicklin, Steve Gardner, Greg Anderson, Paul Foote, Nathan Peat, Russell Fry and Chris Boulder, Wayne Brooksby, the legend that is Tim Taylor, Danny Clark and Gary Bradshaw. The bench that day was Steve Wilson, James Williams, who replaced Steve Gardner, Sam Belcher, Sam Denton, and the lad that we all know now, Mr. Louis Kirk. The goals, as we know, a Russell Fry penalty after 76 minutes, and then they go up the other end. Who fouled again? I can't remember. Was it Greg?
Was it not Russ?
I think it was Russ. I
Russ.
think he scored and then he gave a penalty away. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was Russ.
So then Tolly stuck that one away, went to extra time, and then, as we know, we just blew them away in extra time with a goal from the legend, Mr. Tim Taylor, Greg Anderson, and the current gaffer, Mr. Boulder. So yeah, this game rings true more for me than it does for the other boys, because that was the day when I first met these stupid idiots, and unfortunately I've known them ever since. But no,
say that again.
That one, in all seriousness, that one had to be my number one. That was the day I met my best mates, and yeah, on the pitch it was just unbelievable. We put in a good performance, I thought. Well, we did an extra time anyway, but yeah, that day was really special.
Yeah, and I agree, Jack. I shall sit there and take the piss, but no, it was obviously a special day. And God, look at us now, and all the memories and everything. What we've discussed here, all these games we've been to, and everything since then. But yeah, that was obviously for us. It was good, special as well, because we'd been going a little bit longer, but it was the first big thing really that we saw Ferriby win. And obviously it was in the Billy era. And yeah, it was a weird one because we battered them in extra time, but it was 1-1 in the normal game. Until this year's away shirt came along, that is the best North Ferriby United shirt ever, and it's a travesty they only wore it once. in that Dudesson Cup final. I don't know if Ash agrees with that.
Yeah,
But,
I do.
Yeah, superb day. I remember that there was a few faces there. Steve Turner, big Steve Turner. Do you remember that? He was there, Ash. Again,
now banned from football grounds.
I think he might be for his antics
James
at City.
Grayson.
James Grayson, yeah. You went with Elliot, didn't you?
Yeah. And my dad. My dad was there as well.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Bush
was there.
Yeah, it was. A great day. Again, we had. I seem to remember us having we had pictures and stuff in the bar, didn't we, when we got back?
We went to the bar after. Yeah, we went back to the bar.
Yeah, a really good one, Jack. And obviously, the day we first met you, and obviously we've God, the memories ever since. Bloody hell. But yeah, obviously because unfortunately you couldn't get to Bath or Wembley, I think that is a very fitting one to be on number one.
I agree. I think that's top. That's got to be top 3, hasn't it?
Oh yeah, it has to be.
Because it was one. It was a final.
Yeah.
It was an occasion. It was kind of like the jump. It was like the jump start we needed to get ready for next season to take us up.
Yeah.
No, I agree. Choice.
Yeah, and it was a good ground as well.
It was a good ground.
It was, but it's not. Is it there in a different form now?
It is. It's the exact same ground, with the only difference being they've now ripped the grass pitch out and raised it up, and it's now an AstroTurf pitch, and Nottingham Forest ladies play there because I've watched Hull City ladies there a couple of times. And Eastwood do have a team, but Christ knows what level they're at now.
Probably our level, so.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it was a nice ground, but like a little bit like Farnborough, you could see why the inhabitants of that ground were in financial mess. Obviously, we weren't playing Eastwood; it was just used as a neutral venue against Rushaw. But yeah, no, got a really good one. That God, it's been good to take this. We picked out 5 good ones each, I think.
Yeah, we eventually got them all out.
It was a difficult process. I mean, Ash, you mentioned you had if you want to round it off with a couple that didn't quite make your list, because I know I've got a few.
Hallam, our first league game as a Ferriby FC, but the teams I've chosen have a bit more glamour about them than Hallam. and plus, I'm not going to reward the Hallam fans for not travelling and explaining the game to them. They should have come themselves. The Boston semi-final was close.
Yeah.
Bradford Park Avenue, we played them last season of the trophy-winning year for an emotional purpose, because that was Leslie's last game as chairman. I nearly chose Torquay at home in the conference.
Yeah.
There was a couple of others, but I'm not going to. I can't remember them.
Well, I had Grantham away the year we won the league, Ash. On a Tuesday night, we won 3-2 after being 2-0 down at half time. I always get this wrong, but I believe Chris Boulder scored, didn't he, in that game?
I can tell you. Bear with me.
Oh, he's
going for the brochure.
Here we go.
Right.
Chris Boulder scored the first goal for us.
Yeah, I thought he did. I had Solihull that we mentioned, the 3-1 win, the year that they won the league and we went up in the playoffs. I had, again, the Northern Premier League season, Chorley 1-0, where Liam King scored in the 93rd minute and it had pissed it down all game, and we'd been down to 10 men since the first half. And I had no goals on the golden goal ticket, and I was quite happy not to collect the prize when Kingy nearly took the net off in the 93rd minute.
What was the prize? Do you know?
God knows. That was the day that I tweeted that I'd got in for free by coming in as the fake kit man, and they sent a guy around the ground all day trying to find me and throw me out as well. So that was quite funny. It's a 4-2 win at Southport in the National League, a 1-0 win at York in the National League that was very close, although probably the goal scorer that day probably stopped it getting on the list.
Yeah.
I had 3-2 win at Fylde in the promotion season.
Yeah, I remember that.
And then I did consider North Ferriby FC. It's a bit difficult in terms of away league games because as Ash will point out, we don't play many good teams, but the 2-0 win at Campion this season did come into the consideration. And my final one was the 4-1 win at Gainsborough that we've talked about previously, with the hat-trick of penalties. So yeah, quite a few that didn't quite make the list, and I could have had a list of 100, to be honest, away games. There's been so many that have been so good.
They're more memorable, aren't they?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's our top 5 games.
What cup games came close?
You've got to say all the playoff games came close. The Boston semi-final.
Playoff games were counted as league games, remember?
Well, okay then. If you want them as league games, that's fine. Cup game, you've got to go for East Riding Cup games.
Oh, so we had the other Dudeston Cup final, didn't
Yeah,
we?
the other Dudeston Cup final against Curzon, yeah.
There was, what else can I think of? When we won it, when we battered Lincoln in the trophy.
Yeah, again, that was very close. Just I didn't
At
think
Sinsel Bank.
Only Walker was there.
God, I'm just trying to think now of cup games. FA Cup, we never really did that great, did we?
Well, I would have put Stalybridge would have been in there away. Warrington away would have been in there.
Yeah, but Warrington away was a dreadful day, Ash.
No. It was a good day. It was a good day. The game wasn't very good, but it was a good day.
I also didn't go to Warrington. I've picked games that I was at.
Yeah, I admit the cup one was more difficult for you.
I think I chose 5 good games. The Stourbridge one's a bit iffy, but yeah,
iffy.
I'm quite.
It's the iffiest thing I've ever seen.
I'm quite happy to have the Northwich game in there. Withenshaw, like we said, was very close. It was between those two. Obviously, just went for Northwich because of the day, and obviously we won like in normal time, and we didn't win in penalties and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I think we're all deserved to have the top 5 that we've got. And like we said, there's loads of special mentions that we could have had. But
definitely. Just to round us off, I will say that we will be back again before the end of lockdown. Not quite sure what we'll be doing, but we'll come up with something. Really enjoyed doing this, though. It's just always good to look back, and I will try and dig out some photos and things from some of these games and to put on our social media, because
we'll all be scouring our old group chats, I think, for the next couple of hours and sending them through to people.
Because we've grown up with these memories, really, haven't we? This was the thing. Growing up as teenagers through this, it was brilliant.
I mean, at the end of the day, that Dudeston Cup final, if I can just find it again, this was 2012. I was 14 at this point. And now, obviously, being 22, just growing up with all the memories that we've had in here, growing up with, I mean, I don't like you very much, but growing up with you two and all the rest of them. But yeah, I mean, just the memories that we've pulled out are just unbelievable. And we hope to make many more in the future with North Ferriby FC. Hopefully, the next set of Villagers fans wanting to do a podcast after us, God help them. We'll be able to pull out some North Ferriby FC moments. But yeah, it's been fantastic, boys, and obviously great to get the memories out there.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming up. Obviously, with the idea, Jack, definitely not stolen from Adrian Durham on TalkSport. But yeah, nice one, and we will see you all next time. Not sure when it'll be, but it will be sometime before the end of lockdown.
Technology permitting.
Technology permitting, if Ash doesn't throw his laptop through the window and mine actually works. So yeah, it was good to get through it. But yeah, thanks as always for watching, and we will see you all next time.
See you later.